Hey guys, Sam McCoy, how you doing? Today we're going to talk about one of the most important emotions we can ever get. Ooh, what could Sam be talking about, you wonder? He's talking about love, greed. He's talking about happiness, jubilation. No, today we're going to talk about what let our ancestors survive in the wild. Today, we investigate fear. Now, what is fear? Now, the good old people at dictionary.com are able to define it as the feeling that something or someone is dangerous. Well, alright, I can go with that. You feel afraid of something when you feel like you are gonna get hurt by it, or that it might just lead to a bad situation. Now, everybody feels fear because it's a basic survival instinct, right? Like, for instance, I was at work last night, and I had to go change a couple light bulbs, right? And at the place where I work, there are these really high ceilings, alright? Like 15, 16 feet off the ground, and I had to go change the light bulbs up on the ceiling. And really, I wasn't scared of the height. I mean, I climb trees all the time. I've never fallen out of one. That said, I have broken my skull from a fall of maybe 5 feet. That's another story for another time. So anyway, I wasn't scared of the height, but once I was up there, something very scary happened. It was basically, there were two rings, one inside of the other, on this thing up in the ceiling, and I'm like here. I'm like, the roof is here. I'm trying to bend my head so I can get it, because if I step one step down, it's too far away and I can't reach it. So I pull on one of the rings, because that's what they told me to do, but I pulled on the outer ring, which I should not have done. When you pull on the inner ring, what happens is the inner ring pops down and there's two hooks, so it doesn't fall, and the light bulb's up here and you get it. I pulled out the outer ring, and that caused me to basically rip the entire socket out of the ceiling. Now I'm holding this really heavy metal socket, probably expensive, I don't want to break it. I'm holding it at the top of this really high ladder with my manager shouting instructions at me. And I'm just trying to figure out a way to get it back into the ceiling. And eventually, yeah, I did ram it back into the ceiling and it was all well and good. Now, during that time when I had the socket ripped out of the ceiling, I felt fear. What was I afraid of? A few things. I was afraid of bodily harm from falling off the ladder. I was afraid of getting in trouble for breaking expensive equipment. Really, that's it. I don't know why I said a few things. Bodily harm, and breaking things and getting in trouble. Now, both those things are very bad consequences, things that you would not want to happen, and therefore, I was afraid of them. But that was pretty much basic survival instinct kind of fear, where I see a situation, I know a consequence, I want to avoid the consequence. Things get a little more complex when you start talking about phobias. Now, phobias are irrational fears, like arachnophobia, one of the most common. People who are deathly afraid of spiders. They cannot stand the sight of these things. If they see a spider, they will freak out. If there's a spider on their bed in the middle of the night, they will scream, "Sam, come get this spider off my bed." And then you go and get the spider off their bed. But you don't want to kill it because you're a nice nature-loving guy, so you put the spider in the garbage can. But now there's a vengeful spider seeking your murder and death in the garbage can. And he's eventually going to crawl out of there and come and kill you in your sleep. Thanks, Katie. But phobias are usually caused by deep-seated trauma. So arachnophobia might develop if when you were a baby, if a spider kind of just crawled up your face, you wouldn't know what it was. You were a baby, you're freaking out, you know what this thing is on your face. Therefore, it's a deep-seated psychological root, causing a phobia later in your life. Of course, phobias could also be biological. Taking the same phobia, humans are biologically wired to dislike things that scuttle. Spiders. Therefore, it's a survival instinct. So some people are just afraid of spiders because their genetic ancestors lived in places with very poisonous spiders. And people who were afraid of the spiders didn't get bit by the spiders as often. They lived and produced offspring. Survival of the fittest. And the most afraid. Now, because fear is purely in the mind, and it's all psychological, it can affect you at all hours of the day. It is especially prone to affect you when you're unconscious. Yes, without external stimuli, such as the feeling of touch or sight, without a lot of conscious thought, like when you're asleep and you're not seeing things, you're not really feeling a whole lot, and your body's just kind of moving very slowly, there's not a lot of stimuli, that's when fear can really take hold. Nightmares, man. Freaking nightmares. Usually a nightmare consists of an unpleasant situation where you're in pain or there's really bad things that could happen to you. Again, fear, which is thinking something is dangerous. There's a couple causes for nightmares. One is having a lot of stress on you. Another is eating right before you go to bed. Sometimes nightmares can be caused by actually being in pain while you're asleep. For instance, one time I was sleeping and I rolled off my bed, but my blankets were actually tucked under the bed in a way, so I was wrapped in a cocoon of blankets hanging over the side of my bed. So I was actually suffocating because my blankets wanted to snuggle a little too hard. That would just be the worst way to die. It was weird. In that dream, I remember it very specifically. In the dream, for some reason, I was racing an old man around like a corn maze for some reason, and every time that I needed to breathe, the old man would just speed by me, and every time he sped by me, he whacked me in the neck with a cane. Then I woke up and I was like, "Argh!" So, fear. Fear is a hardwired response that your body has to any situation that could be dangerous. Is fear itself bad? No, it's not. Fear is actually a survival instinct that helped a lot of our ancestors make it through the world. And because of fear, we're actually still here. Oh my god, I rhymed. And yes, everyone experiences fear. Heck, I just told you 2 stories of mine that were pretty stupid, because I can look back on them and laugh. Fear is just an emotional response. So if you're afraid of something, realize what the consequence you're afraid of is, and not the situation. Avoid that consequence. And if you're afraid for the right reason, good for you! You are surviving. As always, I'm Sam McCoy, and unless I die in my sleep, I'll see you next time. Alright, bye.